Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hey guys, I'm Nariman Hamden, and this is Driven Unscripted Success podcast. We've got an awesome guest today. We've got Taras Lyssenko. Taras he works in government relations and business development, promoting the advancement of scientific technologies that bring about better quality of and protect life within the realm of defense, energy, aviation, and homeland security. He's also an author. He's a coach. He is a marine explorer. So he is the guy that goes deep down in the waters and finds the artifacts, lots of artifacts of World War II, such as planes. And you also, Taras, come on in and say hello to everyone.
Hello. You make me sound like I'm a wonderful person.
You are a wonderful person. You've got an interesting career. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do and what your business is?
Well, it's a number of businesses, and what I do is, some people would say that I get the federal government to allow me to do programs that wouldn't ordinarily happen. So, like my partner and I in the aircraft recovery business, marine explorers, we started out just as a couple of young kids exploring for shipwrecks. And then we learned that the U.S. Navy had lost a lot of aircraft during World War II. And we found out that museums all over the world actually wanted those aircraft to display. So we got really good at finding lost World War II U.S. Navy aircraft. So the National Naval Aviation Museum contracted with us to recover. Well, we recovered about 40 of them for them, about 40 lost World War II aircraft. And they're on display all over the U.S. And I know there's one in England, there's one in New Zealand. I can't remember where they all are.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's a lot of planes that you recovered. How cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird because the U.S. government didn't have a way to pay us for that, and the director at the time, Captain Robert Rasmussen of the National Naval Aviation Museum, said, "Well, I want you doing this for me, and I've got a way to pay you, which is I'll give you old obsolete military equipment that you could sell." Then he found out it was illegal for him to give it to us because of what we were doing. So there was a representative in that area that he knew who said, "Well, we can change the law." So we learned how to become lobbyists. Defense lobbyists, defense projects lobbyists. So it's kind of interesting. I went to school at University of Illinois, Chicago for math and computer science. I can't even figure out how to type on a computer nowadays. I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of people in the Pentagon and the Army and the Marine Corps about, let's do this project that's beneficial to our country, our nation.
Right.
And they look up the aircraft stuff and they go, "How did you do that?" And I'm like, I really don't know how we really did it. We're just so determined to do things. That's what, we just are such, I guess people would describe me as a pain in the ass. I don't have any problem going to Capitol Hill and arguing with representatives and senators and convincing them that what we want to do is a good thing. And I don't ask people to help me do things that are bad things. I ask them to help me do good things.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, so let me ask you this. So what's one of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome in your career?
Biggest challenges?
Yeah, one of your challenges
non-believers, people who are non-believers. They, like the U.S. Navy has a branch called the Naval History and Heritage Command, and they have what's called the Underwater Archaeology Branch. And those people go to school and believe that they're the special people of the earth. And only they should see like those aircraft that are recovered. And they have tried to do all kinds they try to have me put in prison. They would accuse me of stealing Navy aircraft, and it was amazing. FBI and Naval Criminal Investigative Services would come to my house and they would stalk me and say, it was reported that you stole the Navy aircraft. And I'd say, call the
Unbelievable.
call the director of the National Naval Aviation Museum and ask him if I stole the aircraft. And it was funny. The underwater archaeology branch would say, oh yeah, an aircraft got delivered to the National Naval Aviation Museum on, make up a date, July 20th or something. But we know that he took an aircraft on July 10th out of the water. They wouldn't tell Naval Criminal Investigative Service or the FBI. It takes a number of days to take it apart and put it on a truck and ship it all the way down to Florida. And the director of the museum would say, are you people nuts? It takes time to take an airplane that's been underwater for 60 years, right? But
absolutely.
Yeah, they would, and they caused me, I had some wonderful, girlfriends, relationships in my life. They caused me to lose those girlfriends because what woman's going to stick around with a guy who the Naval Criminal Investigative Services and the FBI keeps coming into their house asking if they stole something from the U.S. government?
Right.
No sensible woman would stay near someone.
That's not good on anybody's rap sheet. It's definitely not going to help with the ladies department.
It doesn't. It makes you look like a felon.
So with what you do and going, being a diver and looking for these artifacts, what's a skill or habit you think that doesn't get enough credit or for contributing to your success in recovering these aircrafts?
Well, we work as a team. I work as a team. Okay. We've got my partner for Al Olson, Keith Pearson, Pete Spear, Ty, which I never know his last name, Todd Brown. Anyway, the Bruce Bittner, everybody has different skills and different talents. I'm a diver and I can go really deep, but I can't go as deep as some of those guys. I sure can't figure out how to take an aircraft apart or fix an aircraft. I always say if I can't use a hammer to fix it, it's not broken. But what I'm good at is getting people to cooperate with what I want to do.
Sure.
And I pride myself, and I give like the Gen Zs and the millennials a hard time that they don't know how to have a conversation like we're having. And this goes for all my lobbying efforts for like Explorer Aircraft and AAV Limited. I don't want to send an email to a senator. I want to sit there and tell him or her what it is we want to do, right? And I guess my skill is I'm a communication person. And one thing I have is I don't have a filter.
I can see that.
Yeah, I'm kind of known. I got in a fight with the congressional representative right in the hallway of one of the House office buildings about 3 months ago. And it was not a pleasant, polite fight. I'm the wrong person to fight with. I resorted to, you're worthless, you don't belong in Congress.
That escalated, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That escalated.
Yeah, I have no problem doing that, I guess I got to work on that. I got to stop.
It sounds like you speak the truth and you're passionate about your cause. So, you mentioned you have a team. So, obviously leading a team has its challenges. What's your leadership style? And can you give us an example of how it got you through a tough spot?
I've never had a course in leadership. Oh, I lied. I just told a lie. I am a former Army infantry officer, Ranger type.
Sure.
And so I guess I did have a leadership.
Well, I would say that's a big leadership role there. I mean, thank you for your service.
I guess I had a hell of an education in leadership.
I would say so, if you were an Army officer and a Ranger. So.
Infantry. There's a lot of officers that I don't know what they really do.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to mess with you, that's for sure. So,
I shouldn't be so cynical because they're all very important, but anyway, I just don't know what they do. I was a field commander.
Yeah,
My
sure.
whole thing was about combat. That's all it was ever about.
Sure. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what a day in your life looks like and how you juggle work and everything else? What's a day in your life?
I I get up very early in the morning, normally before 6 a.m. And I have animals because I have farms, right? And people call me the animal whisperer
Right.
because I just attract a lot of them. And there are animals that you think wouldn't get along with each other, but I kind of make it clear I'm the head animal, right? And so I get up and there's a number of goats that aren't mine. They don't belong to me. They come from somewhere. There's a pig that doesn't belong to me. She comes from somewhere. She's actually a lot of fun. I do have a couple barn cats. All my dogs have died. I've had a lot of dogs over the year. I'm sure I'll have another dog in a couple weeks. Somebody will drop one off. I've had horses. A lot of deer. A lot of deer.
Yeah.
And I guess I spoil everything. I feed it all.
Well, now I see why they keep coming back and bringing their friends.
Yeah, but they'll let me pet them. So anyway, so they become my buddies. They're fun. Anyway,
What's a book or podcast or, or is there somebody that's affected you and like changed your outlook or approach?
well, so then I was going to continue on with after I do that, right? Make sure the animals are all happy, right? I
Oh,
do that
sure.
I do that every morning. And then, then I start on what's called WhatsApp. And a lot of people have that, but I work international. So we have all this people out of England and other countries on the WhatsApp strings telling me what they need or what they need me to do. And
Mhm.
it could be working a weapon system that's needed by both the US government and by Taiwan, right?
Sure.
And so about 9 o'clock comes around and guaranteed I'm going to have some sort of virtual call with somebody who's going to disagree with me on something that way I'm doing something, right? Like I tell the US Department of Defense people, we need to make about 10 million loitering munitions this year
Sure.
because our big enemy is making at least 1 million this year. And people don't know who our really big enemy is, and I shouldn't talk about that. And anyway, and they say, well, Congress hasn't allocated. So then I'll be on the phone with some staff member, a military legislative assistant from Congress, telling them, guess how much money we need to do this kind of thing. And I work things like Defense Production Act Title III. I work defense appropriations, all kinds of things like that. So anyway, generally by about noon, though, people leave me alone for a little while until the evening. I don't know why that is. And it's only about 6 or 7 o'clock.
Sure.
The different large defense contractor people, they had all their meetings for the day. Then they want to argue with me.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time arguing. So my leadership style is, I guess I'm the meanest person in the argument, even though I laugh and I joke around a lot. I'm not really known for my niceness in my arguments.
Sure.
And I guess a lot of people get upset with me and they tell me, and the one thing they know is it's fine. Tell me whatever you think of me. Right.
Sure.
I try to use it as constructive criticism, you know.
Yeah, typically it does. That's a good way to view it. So
Yeah.
it doesn't get you agitated or
Yeah,
defensive.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
yeah, doesn't bother me. So I guess I guess I have a lot of Army, infantry, Ranger leadership kind of style still.
Absolutely. Yeah. It sounds
It-
like it.
It
Yeah.
still
Which is
hasn't gone
healthy.
away, even though the neuropsychiatrist that's talking to me keeps trying to get me to not be that way. But anyways,
Yeah. So yeah, it's a habit that probably needs to be,
yeah.
finessed a little more. I mean, you do have a gift to communicate and you speak
But
the truth, you're passionate.
all these people become close associates. Most of them become friends of mine, and They like to
Sure.
come to my house because I live in the middle of nowhere up a big hill, and
You got a flock of animals coming
yeah,
in
they
and out
sit on
at
the
all times.
yeah, they sit on the patio eating grilled cheeseburgers and with the pig going, "Are you going to finish that? Because I haven't had any yet." You know.
Yeah, sure.
So
So let me ask you, as let's go back to a book, if there's been a book or a podcast or someone that's really changed your outlook or approach. So can you share, has there been anything that's helped
well,
you in that
I would
sense?
say everybody I work with changes my outlook and my approach. I'm not I'm not ever the idea person. The aircraft recovery stuff, that was my partner Al, he's quite a bit older than I am. Everybody seems, well, now people are starting to appear younger than I am, but everybody appeared older to me, you know. I keep saying I can still behave like I'm 17, ask anybody that knows me. But it's like
Sure.
it was Al's idea to go out, and I was a scuba diver, and I was just doing like other scuba divers who go look at pretty fish and stuff. And he goes, "Well,
Yeah.
let's go out and find stuff and recover stuff." It was his idea, right? Um,
Sure.
getting billionaire people like the former CEO, who now his daughter, I think, is the CEO of Enterprise Rent-A-Car, to donate a bunch of money. I enlisted the help of a guy named Ed Ellis, former lawyer from the Navy, who knew him and got that guy to invest in recovering an aircraft in honor of Enterprise Rent-A-Car and the founder of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So none of this stuff is really my idea. So all these people are very inspirational.
Sure. Inspirational.
Thank you for helping me with that. Just so your audience knows, I do have brain trauma right now. Okay, I had a bad brain injury and I'm recovering. So, yeah, just so they know. So I have trouble with saying certain words. At about 7 o'clock, I won't be able to speak a sentence because it's 7 o'clock in the evening. Just so people know. So you got me at the perfect time.
Sure.
I'm well
Yeah.
rested and I can speak. They call it chronic. I don't know. Let's just call it chronic brain damage syndrome. Your days go bad. Okay, they get bad. Anyway, it's
Sure.
just because your brain's messed up and the wiring's all screwed up. And so when you have a lot of
Sure.
sleep, yeah, when you have a
Yeah.
lot of sleep, you're okay. All right, so then you look at like AAV Limited, which I don't know if I have the right word. It's classified weapon systems. I don't know if that's the right word, confidential weapon systems. Richard Abbott, who formed that, he brought an idea to me and said, I could use your help with this idea, right? Brian Lynch of Explorer Aircraft brought an idea to me. Now, I come up with a lot of ideas they don't think of because I'm former military and everything I look at becomes a weapon to me. So Explorer Aircraft's a really good example. I took a look at it and I said, the U.S. government's allies need what's called ISR, ISTAR aircraft, which stands for intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, intelligence, target acquisition, reconnaissance, surveillance. Anyway, they need the U.S. government has been, in my mind, and here's one of my things that I just don't have a filter on. The U.S. government wants foreign allies to use things like P-3 Orions, which are giant monstrosities, to hunt narco subs. Well, send that down to a country in Central America and say, we want you to use this giant monstrosity aircraft to try to find narco subs.
Sure.
And you say, wait a minute, you got to train that pilot, you got to maintain that aircraft. This is going to cost that country all kinds of money. So I say to the U.S. government, no, we're going to take an Explorer aircraft. We're going to fit it with the synthetic aperture radar, a beautiful camera system. And if you can fly a Cessna 172, which is the type of airplane that you learn to fly in, right? You can fly this. And guess what? You'll see the narco subs and you'll turn them in and we'll put an end to the fentanyl trade and everything else. And then I got to go argue with people in Homeland Security and the Coast Guard and all that. Well, because they're using their P-3 Orions, and it's loads of fun to put 8 people in that big giant airplane and fly around all over the sky for all kinds of waste of money and all kinds of time. And I'm hoping Homeland Security and Customs and Border Protection see your podcast and go, well, he's correct. Okay. He was a jerk when he was talking to us and told us that we're stupid, but I wouldn't tell them that I don't know if I would tell them they're stupid. I would just tell them they're not thinking correctly. I think that's the thing, but anyway, but so all these different people, they're all real inspirational to me because they put something in my brain.
Sure. They've helped you one way or another. And
Yeah.
it's nice because they come to you with the idea because they know you have the solution.
Yeah. Well, they say, here's what we have.
Get it done.
Here's our problem. Give us some thought. Figure it out.
Right. Help us figure out how to make this happen.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And
So
if you interviewed them, they'd go, yeah, he's actually quite entertaining how he does this. Right?
You are.
A bunch of them were on Capitol Hill with me where it looked like my right eye was knocked out. and members of Congress are looking at me going, what the hell happened to you? and I go, I don't know. I have brain damage. I don't know. And I would tell them what happened to me.
Sure.
And they say, yeah, he likes to tell you his brain damage. He's having fun telling you that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. So as we're wrapping up our interview, what exciting plans or initiatives do you have in the works in the next 6 to 12 months? What do you got going on?
Well, I want the U.S. government to start backing us on building a whole lot of loitering munitions so that we don't get overwhelmed by countries that want to hurt us really bad. That's a big important thing. I want to get Explorer aircraft into the full FAA certification process. So if there's people out there that like to invest in projects like that, hey, give them my phone number, give them my email. Right.
So tell us if somebody wants to get a hold of you and be a part of what you're doing in how would they get a hold of you? What's the best way for them to connect with you?
The easiest thing is to call me.
What's your number?
+1 305 794 4457.
Great.
And then if they look on the internet, I have all kinds of email addresses. They find those. So yeah, I'll say it again, +1, and that's because of WhatsApp, the +1, +1, yes, 305 794 4457. And I take all my calls, even from the scammers. The scammers don't like me because I ask them for special favors, and they don't like that. You know how the scammers call you every day.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Taras. I really, really enjoyed learning about everything you do and your military background and how you're helping facilitate these programs going on in raising money to make this happen. You guys heard it, so you can give him a call if you're interested in helping him and investing in his projects. And you can also find him on LinkedIn and just Google him. He's been a guest on several podcasts and you can get a hold of him. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you, Taras.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.